If you spend the last 12 months memorizing casual shortcuts to eliminate options or reading surface level polity summaries that treated constitutional law like a basic vocabulary quiz, the 2026 UPSC Prelims paper probably felt like an absolute shock. The civil services community is already reacting by calling the paper volatile, random, or unfair. But today, we are going to expose the real reason behind that exam hall panic. UPSC has officially executed the death of generalized polity. The examiner deliberately stepped past secondary references booklets to test three uncompromising pillars. Those are radical textual literalism, case based administrative judgment, and a deep statutory codification. They didn't just ask you broad questions about the nature of democracy. They checked if you have read the literal closing articles of our fundamenting and founding document, the precise rules of parliamentary business, and the exact operational mandates of law enforcement bureaus. Today, we deploy the logic of exactitude to run a complete structural autopsy on this paper and show you why a system driven approach is your only way to survive 2027. Let us decode the pattern before we enter the questions. I want you to see the architecture of the paper. The 2026 polity architecture. UPSC tested 5 recurring systems here: constitutional textualism, parliamentary procedure, governance realism, statutory codification, and institutional mapping. These are not 9 separate questions. These are 5 recurring architectures. UPSC does not repeat questions. UPSC repeats architectures. And once you identify the architecture, future questions become far more predictable. Most students prepare subjects, UPSC prepares filters. That difference explains the entire 2026 paper. We classified as question families those 9 questions. The question family number 1 is we are going to discuss, that is constitutional textualism. Please take the question paper general studies paper 1 prelims 2026. We are taking set A paper, that is question number 54 and 55. We are going to discuss under constitutional textualism. So let's say take each and every question as case study. So let us discuss about the case study number 1, that is question number 55 from set A paper. That is belongs to articles that 393 to 395. Look at carefully the question 55. This is a light structural trap designed to catch candidates who stop reading their constitutional bare acts. The moment they finish major chapters like the judiciary or the executive, They stop reading the constitutional bare acts. So this is the trap, elite structural trap designed to catch candidates who stop reading their constitutional bare acts. So the paper lists three negative assertions. Those are claiming there is no article naming the document, no article repealing colonial laws, and no article specifying our official commencement date of January 26 and 1950. To an untrained eye, these sounds like plausible, obscure details. But let's look at the literal text of the closing miscellaneous articles. Article 393 explicitly declares the short title: the Constitution may be called the Constitution of India. That is the Article 393 of the Indian Constitution explicitly declares the title. What is the title? This Constitution may be called the Constitution of India. And comes to the article number 394, that is explicitly outlines the commencement date of 26th January 1950. And article 395 of the Indian Constitution explicitly executes the legal repeal of the Indian Independence Act 1947 and the Government of India Act 1935. So every single negative statement on the screen is textually false. That is under the given in question number 55, those three statements. There is not a single correct statement up there. So the option is B. So in this question, UPSC underliningly saying that students are going to take bare acts also in the consideration of reading. That means every year they will ask the same bare acts questions, but that is also most important for the prelims examination, for that matter mains also. If UPSC is willing to go into the miscellaneous articles today, then articles 300A, 364, 364, 361, 363A, 371 series, constitutional schedules and transitional provisions become future hunting grounds, maybe in 2027 and further. So one thing you have to understand and remember, if UPSC is willing to go into the miscellaneous articles in the future examination, the articles of 300A, 361, 363A, 371 series are most important and predictable and probable articles. Constitutional schedules and transitional provisions, these are the become future hunting grounds. The Constitution is not a chapter, it is a legal operating system. This is all about question number 55, set A paper 2026 prelims GS paper 1 under the polity section. And comes to the question number 54. This is taken as case study number 2, that is unwritten legal norms. What are the unwritten legal norms? What is the question? Now look at the question 54 from set A paper. The examiner builds a mock seminar debate to evaluate whether you understand the full semantic coverage of Article 13. Officer X asserts that the term law covers formal executive and legislative output. Ordinances, rules, regulations. Officer Y counters that it also must incorporate unwritten customs or widespread usage holding the force of law. So aspirants get confused by the narrative format, but the answer is permanently locked in the strict definitions of Article 13, Clause 3, Subclause A. The clause text explicitly defines law to include any ordinance, order, bylaw, rule, regulation, notification, custom, or usage within the territory of India. Because X and Y are both tracking valid, complementary textual parameters of the exact same constitutional article. The views of both characters are entirely correct. So the option C is here the answer. So let me repeat it again. UPSC frame the questions in different way, but the underlying answer is permanently locked in the strict definitions of Article 13, Clause 3 and Subclause A. So you have to identify the way of asking the questions, way of framing the questions of UPSC. The answer will be the same, but the way of asking question regarding the particular anything, particular definition or article is changing. So you have to understand the way of framing the questions of UPSC, and you have to read between the lines, read very carefully, because here this particular question number 54 they discussed about Article 13. So in different way. So when you are in the stage that basics and conceptual clarity is with you, your amount of solving the particular question is increasing, the chances is increasing. So conceptual clarity is most important as far as polity, for that matter any subject. So UPSC framing the questions is different, but underline the concept is same. So the class text explicitly defines law to include any ordinance, order, bylaw, rule, regulation, notification, custom, or usage within the territory of India. This is the question given under 54, set A paper, article number 30. Then we are moving to question family. We are moving to question family 2, that is parliamentary procedure and parliamentary procedural reversals. In the 2026 paper, they given question 57 and question 58 under this parliamentary procedure and procedural reversals. Look at the question number 57. We take this question as case study number 3. That is regarding relating with the joint committee rule reversal. Look at the question number 57 from set A. This is a master class in how the examiner sets deliberately traps by systematically reversing every single structural parameter of a parliamentary body. Let's untangulate the parameters of the committee on the welfare of the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. The committee is the same. The traps are different. They using here systematically reversing trap every single structural parameter of parliamentary body. So comes to the statement number 1 in the particular question number 57, committee on welfare of SC and STs, scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. The statement number 1 claims that the chairperson is appointed by the chairman of the Rajya Sabha. That is false. The power rests with the speaker of the Lok Sabha rather than Rajya Sabha. Comes to the statement number 2 claims that 20 members are from Rajya Sabha and 10 members from Lok Sabha. This is reversed. It is exactly 20 from Lok Sabha and 10 from Rajya Sabha. They reversed the number. Comes to the statement 3. It says the Union Minister of Social Justice can be a member. That is the false thing. False option. Joint Committee ethics dictate that no minister whatsoever can sit on oversight panel. The Joint Committee ethics what dictates that no minister whatsoever can sit on an oversight panel. So no minister. Comes to the statement number 4 that is states that the term is 2 years. That is also false. The standard operational horizon is 1 year only. Once again, every single statement is a calculated falsehood. So the answer should be option D. So you have understand what they deliberately asking the questions with structural traps, structural reversals of the every single parameter of the parliamentary body particularly. Comes to the committee on welfare of SC and ST. This is the master class question they given in 2026. So you understand the way of questioning UPSC. So then comes to the question number 58. So this is taken as case study number 4, that is rules of business. In the question they focused on starred versus unstarred questions. Look at the question number 58 with care. The examiner deploys the exact same reversal strategy on basic parliamentary floor proceedings. Comes to the statement number 1 and statement number 2. Statement number 1 and 2 switch the basic identities of starred and unstarred questions. Starred questions demand immediate oral floor replies, while unstarred requests receive written table submissions. But look at the statement number 3. It states that no supplementary question can be asked on unstarred questions. So think about the functional system of parliament. because an unstarred answer is simply a written paper filed into the house records. There is no active oral dialogue happening on the floor. Without an oral exchange, there is no structural room for members to ask spontaneous follow-up supplementary questions. Statement number 3 is a flawless systemic reality. So the option here is D. Look at the question number 58 again. Here they discuss about the rules of business. They linked the question with starred versus unstarred questions. So look at, they deploys the exact same reversal strategy and basic parliamentary proceedings. Look at the statement number 1 and 2. Switch the basic identities. To understand this, to solve this question, you have to very well aware about starred and unstarred questions. For that matter, total rules of proceedings. So the twists, turns, traps in the UPSC paper. So you have to think about the functional system of parliament. So when only you are very much aware of the particular topics, then only you can easily solve, easily overcome by UPSC twist and turns. Comes to the question family number 3, that is governance realism. What is governance realism? In the UPSC 2026, they given two questions under governance realism. They are not saying directly this is from governance realism, that is from constitution textualism. With decoding those given questions under question families, this is a underlining pattern given by UPSC. We have to separate, classify them for our understanding. So from governance realism, two questions, that is question number 51 and question number 52, as per set A paper. This is case based governance and ethical mindsets. So comes to the question number 51. This is we taken as case study 5. What is the concept here? The accountability pivot in the form of vaccine contracts. So now look at the massive block of situational case studies sneaked into the paper. In question 51, a senior officer discovers a private vaccine distributor compromising on quality during a pandemic. Despite intense institutional pressure, he locks the issue and halts the contract. UPSC asks which foundational principle of public administration is demonstrated here. So aspirants get stuck choosing between broad ethical terms like equity or delegation. Two option confusion here. So but an administrator looks at institutional design by explicitly mapping the failure, halting the transaction to safeguard citizen welfare, and answering directly to a formal vigilance survivor. The officer is executing the ultimate textbook standard of accountability. So the option C is Correct answer. So UPSC is no longer testing what you know. It is testing how you would govern. So these type of questions given in the UPSC is absolute shock and given mostly first time in the sense. Why? Because this given by UPSC to test the ability, to test the administrative capability of the aspirants. They're testing from prelims also rather than only testing in mains in the form of ethics. They wanted to test in the prelims itself. So UPSC expected administrators from aspirants before you completed the you solve the prelims. In the mains ethics, they asked supposedly. But these type of questions is absolute shock to the students. But you have to prepare for everything while you are preparing for UPSC. Then comes to the question number 52, which we taken as case study number 6. That is, here the concept is conflict meditation. Sorry, conflict mediation. What is conflict mediation architecture? Tribal land versus waste infrastructure. Look at the question number 52 with carefully. Here the question is a complete tribal land mediation caselet. So government plans for an urban waste management facility face intense blockades by a local tribal hamlet, citing sacred ground. So here statement 2 presents a classic authoritarian trap. What is that? What is the authoritarian trap? Look at the statement 2 carefully. Claiming the government should move ahead aggressively without delay because urban health concerns outweigh small groups of sentiments. This completely violates the constitutional spirit of inclusive tribal governance. An effective conflict resolution framework requires validating historical cultural concerns first, deploying independent environmental and social impact assessments, and structuring an open multi-stakeholder dialogue platform. So statement 2 is toxic to the process, leaving you cleanly with statements 1 and 1, 3 and 4. So answer option A. So UPSC is no longer testing what you know. It is testing how you would govern. UPSC is no longer testing what you know. It is testing how you would govern. You have to remember this carefully. That is why I am saying again and again. What UPSC is expected from an aspirant. That is you have to know. In that way only you can prepare examination. On that lines only. Look at the classic dilemmas. They are started asking in prelims itself. rather than mains. So look at the way of framing the questions. You have to understand the underlying direction of UPSC, what they are trying to say. So you have to be very careful and ready for any type of absolute shocks. You have to observe the shocks. So we are moving to the question family number 4, that is statutory codification, that is family number 4. Under this family, question number 62 we are going to discuss in the form of case study number 7. What is the concept here? UPSC questioned the new legal frontier, that is zero FIR under BNSS 2023. Let's pivot to advanced legislative changes under the newly codified Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita 2023, that is BNSS 2023. In the question number 62, the statement 1 confirms the formal codification of the zero FIR, allowing a victim to log a serious crime at any police station across India, completely bypassing traditional territorial jurisdiction, traps to guarantee immediate protection. But check statement number 2 and 3. Comes to the statement number 2. Statement number 2 claims the receiving officer can freeze the file to execute a preliminary inquiry. That is wrong option, wrong statement. The statute mandates an instantaneous transfer to the correct jurisdiction rather than freeze the file to execute a preliminary inquiry. So option statement number 2 is wrong. Comes to the statement number 3. Statement number 3 asserts electronic logging is strictly obligatory. But that is also wrong answer, wrong statement. The statement is also wrong. It is a progressive structural option, never an absolute coercion. So statement 1 stands as the singular valid reality. So the answer is option C. So look at the question number 62. They are asking codification. There are statutory codifications under BNSS 2023. They asked about zero FIR. So comes to the family number 5, that is institutional state literacy. Under this family, we are going to discuss question number 60 and 63. Two questions. Comes to the question number 60, we are going to take this as case study number 8. What is this strategic security shield? That is Mission Sudarshan Chakra. This is the question number 60. Look at the question number 60 regarding Mission Sudarshan Chakra. Comes to the statement number 1 and statement number 2. Statements number 1 and 2 details what it details. It's authentic strategic defense architecture, integrating air defense, ballistic missile tracking, and rapid aerial capabilities to enforce strategic autonomy. But look at the statement number 3. It claims the mission intends to cover all public places in India with an expanded nationwide security shield by 2035. This is a classic semantic distortion. Mission Sudarshan Chakra is an elite military grade air defense umbrella designed to tackle incoming external threats like hypersonic vectors or ballistic missiles. It is not an internal domestic surveillance network designed to track city streets or public squares. So, statement number 3 is a complete mismatch of operational scope. So, the answer is option B. So, in this type of questions, no superficial information will save you. So, you have to go into the depth of the topic. Then only you can easily survive. So, that type of preparation is needed here. Comes to the question number 63. That is case study 9. That is institutional enforcements, law bureau controlling ministries. This is relating to the, this question is relating to. Let's close with the institutional ministry mapping in question number 63. Row 1 links the Central Economic Intelligence Bureau to the Ministry of Home Affairs. This is incorrect. It operates squarely under Ministry of Finance, not under Home Affairs. Comes to the row 2. It links the Serious Fraud Investigation Office to the Ministry of Finance. This is also incorrect. The Serious Fraud Investigation Office SFIO handles corporate structural failures under the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Comes to the row 3, it links the Central Bureau of Investigation to the Ministry of Personal Public Grievances and Pensions. This is correct. The CBI reports directly through DOPT. Only one single row is correctly matched on that grid. So answer option A. Answer is option A. So moves to the 5 filters of 2026. These 5 filters are not unique to 2026. They are the foundation of how UPSC increasingly evaluates administrative readiness. Constitutional Textualism, Parliamentary Procedure, Governance Realism, Statutory Codification, Institutional Mapping. Notice something, none of these filters rewards memorization alone. Every one of them rewards administrative thinking. So based on this, what is the 2027 execution mandate from the given 2026 prelims GS paper 1 comes under the polity section. What is the ultimate message written across the 2026? Constitutional or governance paper? Listen very carefully. The 2026 paper carried a warning. UPSC no longer rewards spectators, it rewards administrators. Administrators read the text. Administrators understand the procedure. Administrators understand institutions. Administrators understand consequences. That is why this paper looked random to some people and completely predictable to others. If your preparation relies on scrolling through generic monthly booklets or memorizing shortcuts, you are entering the exam hall blind. UPSC no longer tests you as an absolute outsider observer. UPSC no longer tests you as an outside observer reading a summary. They are writing questions from the seat of a constitutional regulator, a parliamentary secretary, or a law enforcement administrator. They want to know what is the exact textual boundaries of the article. How do the procedural rules of the House govern executive oversight? And what are the precise operational steps under the newly codified statute? That is the pattern first system literacy we build at Metis every single day. If this a deep structural autopsy completely changed the way you view this examination, subscribe to Metis IAS Academy. Welcome to our growing community of over 27,000 analytic minds. Up next, we take this exact system lens straight into the single most feared psychologically dangerous segment of the entire examination cycle. That is CSAT, the hidden structural battleground of the UPSC prelims. That is CSAT. I will see you in the next master class.